Welcome to GearCheckGames. This is part 9 of our commentary from Metroid Prime. Last time, we did some backtracking on our way to the next important pickup in the game, hidden here in the Chozo Ruins.
Avoid the danger noodles.
Yes.
And the danger grass.
We're going to be avoiding the danger noodles, the dangerous, the orange grass, yes.
Have you scanned the venom weed yet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think I got that before fighting Flagra.
Oh, yeah, you got it in this room.
Did I mention how weird it is that venom from, like, basically poison ivy hurts you through armor?
Well, I mean, this is the same suit that got taken away by getting, like, pushed against a wall.
Fair.
I feel like the Chozo suit, it's one of a kind, so, like, it's constantly in beta.
Yeah. It just has lots of bugs, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know a lot about the suit, but, like, I think it's from Zero Mission where they show, like, an actual Chozo in the suit, so presumably this was just kind of, like, their, like, combat suit just adapted to, like, a more human form.
Yeah.
So it's just, like,
basically the only difference is it doesn't have, like, a giant, like, beak-accommodating helmet.
That's the source of its power.
So, canonically, are all the Chozo gone? Because she was raised by them.
I think so. I mean, they never show a Chozo in any of these games, do they? Apart from the ghosts and the hieroglyphs and whatnot.
Yeah.
The Chozosts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Chozo are entirely dead.
I guess the statues from Metroid 1 and Super are modeled after the Chozo, so that's, you know, when one of them comes to life and starts fighting you as a boss, it's probably kind of morbid for Samus.
I like to think, so this is just a crack theory, please do not at me. Or do
but
if
that's
you...
just a theory.
It's just a theory.
A crack theory.
My theory is that the Chozo are kind of like the beings from the Dark Crystal, where there are the evil halves out there somewhere, and they all look like Ridley, but like Samus is like
Ridley's a Skeksis.
Yeah, he's a Skeksis, and since she's got like some Chozo DNA in her suit, that technically makes her the last Chozo. So they're like doomed to like forever be like at each other's throats, but they can't die.
Yeah, come to think of it, Ridley does kind of look like a Skeksis.
Yeah. So, according to the wiki, the reason for the Chozo's disappearance isn't explained, but, prevailing is just kind of they're extinct, likely from hunting by the space pirates.
I thought the reason was backstory.
Yes, there's backstory, but it's not been revealed what that backstory is.
Well, it's always nice to have kind of an undercurrent of mystery in your series.
They all tried to go morph ball mode and got squished. Samus was the only one limber enough to survive it.
Because she was just a kid and could fit inside the ball.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Does that count as, like, child labor? Has anybody told the Galactic Federation about this?
I mean, if you count squishing into a ball labor.
Well, did they pay her to do it?
It's the fact that she doesn't have hollow bones.
Would you pay a child to squish into a ball?
No, nobody cares about these questions, including me. Let's move on.
So, I was gonna say something. I really like this this room. There's just a lot of little goodies in it. A lot of little things to mess around with. I like
any room where you get to play around with the boost ball and a half pipe is always fun.
Yeah.
Unless it's that one in the deep part of the Talon overworld with like the missile on top. It's less of a half pipe and more of just like a big circle where you have to use the boost ball at just the right time to get like on top of it. And I always struggle to do that.
Yeah, there's a couple that aren't like the easiest.
Yeah. I feel like nobody knows what I'm talking about, but I'll point it out when we get to it, because I think we do get to it.
I think I vaguely remember that.
The next few
episodes. That one.
Yeah, it's like right by where you get the X-ray visor.
Yeah.
It's all very exciting.
Oh man, speaking of cool rooms, this is one of my favorites.
Speaking of exciting.
More ghosts!
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is one of the few times they trap you in there with them.
Yeah.
Well, these are the ones that's just like, you kind of always have to fight them, because, like, anytime you actually need to, like, do anything in this room, they're just there and annoying.
Yeah. So I guess thanks to those little pictures, we have sort of a close-up of what the Chozo might have looked like when they were alive, you know, but less terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, there's just one this time. Did I pick the right difficulty when I started playing this?
Yeah, no, they increase in number. They put just one in here initially.
Okay. But before we go in there, we gotta show off the elusive missile recharge station.
Oh.
There's only like 2 of these, aren't there?
2 or 3, I think. Not very many. Apart, you know, the one you'll likely be using the most is just your gunship.
Yeah, you cross through that area so much, you might as well.
Man, I know not everybody will agree, but I really appreciate it in AM2R that all of the save points just restore all of your health and missiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if any Metroid game needed it, it was that one, because it is pretty tough at times.
Yeah, Samus Returns has them as individual towers, and it's just like, sometimes I like it, most of the times I don't.
Didn't Fusion often have, like, it had the,
yes.
like, health refill and missile refill or whatever as separate things, but, like, next to each other in the same room?
No, so they had the save and the recharge station separate, but at the beginning of every sector they had the navigation room where you had plot critical cutscenes that trapped you most of the time, the save room, and then the recharge room.
Trent, were you talking before about Samus Returns or about AM2R?
Samus Returns. So Samus Returns has...
Just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
Samus Returns has missile and energy refill stations that are separate from the save stations.
Right, okay.
And separate from each other.
Yeah, that's the tradition. Because the Prime games refilling your health when you save was like a new thing for this game, and you know,
and it was
subsequently
fantastic.
The Prime series. Yeah.
They need to bring that back for most Metroids, in my opinion.
There was actually.
Well, I'm sure they will for Prime 4 if Kensuke Tanabe's recent Paper Mario interview is any indicator.
So I actually kind of like how Metroid Zero Mission did it. So Metroid Zero Mission, the save stations do eventually start recharging your health and missiles, but only whenever they're the ones inside of the pirate ship or the Chozo Ruins. Because they are, you know, like a stronger version of it.
There go the fish.
Yeah, they show the fish are like, follow the water or we'll die.
I love these toads so much.
Yeah, this is like the only other place besides that room with the bomb reactors that the stone toads appear in the game. I just barely made that jump.
Oh yeah, we're picking up the ice beam here.
Yeah, the almighty ice beam, which in this game, you know, it's still pretty fun to use, but like compared to previous Metroid games, they really slowed it down.
Yeah, it's one of the ones where it's just like, I like how it translated, but it didn't translate as perfectly across 2D or 3D.
Well, I think one of the like the overall design differences between as awesome as the ice beam is, it doesn't do anything to the stone toads. But one of the big like overall design differences between the Prime 1 anyway versus the, you know, like Super Metroid, for instance, is that in Super Metroid, as you collect items, you basically Samus just like gets better in like a linear fashion. Like, you know, you get a beam and then you get another beam that just makes your original beam better, as opposed to Prime, where the Chozo ghosts constantly show up and attack you and impede your progress. Well, no, but in Prime, your default beam is just one of like your 4 ultimate options, and you kind of just have to pick which beam you use based on like what the situation demands. Because, you know, like we got the wave beam and the ice beam, but the power beam is still like the fastest and most like reliable way to deal with enemies. Whereas the other two are better tailored for like certain kinds of enemies and situations.
Yeah, they're more situational.
Yeah, well, and another benefit is, while the power beam might never be like a weakness of an enemy, it's very rare that like an enemy will be entirely immune to it.
Right. Yeah, I'd say the closest thing this game has to a catch-all beam is the plasma beam, but we don't get that for a while. And even then, I find that it works better at like close range than it does. You know, like when you're using the plasma beam, you don't have super missiles, and we already talked about how underwhelming the flamethrower is.
The plasma beam is just one of the best Metroid upgrades, or just like fun things to use in a game, period.
Yeah.
What did the plasma beam do in the... Didn't it let you shoot through multiple enemies in Super?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
It increased your damage too quite a bit.
Yeah, the plasma beam's almost always one of the last beams that you get. It's usually
so freaking good.
Kind of weird that they made like a separation between going through enemies and going through everything else.
Well, there's a couple of places that ends up used in each of the 2D games typically, where it's just like, oh well, this enemy will kind of just block this, but you can use the wave beam to solve like environmental puzzles, but you aren't like super good at like being aggressive with it, because like the wave beam, you can shoot through walls to damage enemies, but like it doesn't mean that you can necessarily take on more enemies at once, whereas the plasma beam allows you to take on many more enemies at once.
Really helps for the final stretch of Lower Norfair on your way to Ridley, just because there's so many space pirates.
Yeah, you're just like, listen, I don't want to deal with you anymore, please leave.
Yeah. Now that area back there with the half pipe and all the stone toads is actually going to be an important little like relay point for us from here on, because that door we didn't get.
Room.
Yeah, that door we didn't go through that required the ice beam actually leads to another elevator to a different part of the Talon overworld that we can't progress very far in just yet. But later on in the game, it'll help speed things up a little bit for us, hopefully.
Well, yeah, it's
Boy,
kind
I
of
sure
like
sound confident in this, don't I?
It's kind of a false path if you take that other one, because you could get really deep trying to figure out where it goes, and then you could be like, well, there's a certain upgrade I need that would make this area a lot easier.
Well, not even an upgrade. If you actually go through that door, you'll find that you can't get any farther because there's like a switch on the other side of a gate that you can only open from that side. And that side is going to require us to get an upgrade that would be very nice to have now, because as we've mentioned before, traveling through water in Metroid Prime unaided is not very enjoyable.
Case in point.
You're very slow and very vulnerable to, well, everything.
So I forget. You got the ice beam. I forget where we have to go next.
Fendrana Drifts!
We have to take
that
ice...
place where we just were when we couldn't progress because we didn't have the ice beam? See, this is what I'm talking about, or what we were talking about earlier on, about Metroid Prime's, level planning not being the most efficient. And I guess one other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that when I started playing this, I turned off the hint system, which I think most people just, they just keep it on. That's kind of how Metroid Prime compensates for its kind of esoteric level design at times, is just, if you play for long enough without going to, the next objective, the game will chime in and tell you where, the next pickup that you need is.
Yeah.
But...
Which can really help sometimes when they're not clear about where you're supposed to go.
Well, yeah, when they're just like, okay, yeah, no, you got a thing, now go to the complete opposite end of the world and use the thing you just got to get another thing.
Yeah.
I mean, playing it this way, without the hints, it's kind of like playing an open world game without, a radar, or your map HUD being... Yeah.
Well, it's more of a Metroid game this way, because like we've said, the part of the appeal of Metroid is keeping all that in your brain and remembering where things are and being satisfied when you do, remember where things are. But in the case of a game like this, I can understand why people might want to leave the hint system on, just because it's not super clear all the time.
I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I felt like the hint system was less of a hint system and more of the primary like method for the game to give you directives. It's like, all right, I've got a new thing. Now I need to wait for the hint system to tell me what to do with it. That's pretty much how I played it as a kid.
It's not super patronizing or anything. It always kind of like contextualizes the hint with some kind of in-universe thing, like seismic waves detected at this location. You know.
Yeah.
To give you kind of a hint about like what item is there or like what kind of boss you might have to fight. So it does, you know, it is a valuable gameplay function in that it kind of gives you, it kind of gives you some build up of what you're going to find there, but...
So you did something a second ago that I find so funny, but I love that it works. You can freeze the flamethrower vents.
Yeah, funny you should mention that, Trey. Freezing the flamethrower vents is the only reason why I kept this trip through Magmore in. Because it was the only new thing that I could show from this trip. So from this point onwards, at least for the most part, I'm going to be cutting out every return trip through an area where I don't find like a new upgrade or anything.
That's good.
So yeah, we're going to be seeing a whole lot less of Magmore Caverns after this point, I think.
Goodbye, Magmore.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun for a little while it lasted.
It was fun the first time through.
Those mushroom guys remind me a lot of Spore Spawn, and I think that's what they were going for with the design of those things.
Oh yeah,
Looks like it.
You're right.
I forgot to say that last episode.
Just tank it. Don't want to have to fight the pirates.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about
I
those
believe Dan
flamethrowers.
mentioned in an earlier episode that after a while he just kind of gives up unless the enemies,
Yeah.
you know, do their thing while he just like races for the door.
Yeah, because you're gonna eventually have like a recharge station or a save station to recharge your health near where like your next objective is. So it's just like, listen, I just don't want to fight you guys anymore.
Well, we're at the point of the game we have enough energy tanks where you can do that.
Well, right. And additionally, as we get more suit upgrades, you also start taking less damage. So like, you'll eventually just be like, listen, I can't care about you anymore.
I can't be bothered by space pirates. Oh yeah, is this the room that has the hidden door to get one of the artifacts?
No, it's the other identical looking room in this part of the Phendrana Drifts.
Guys, Phendrana Drifts, this far end of it, and Talon Overworld have like multiple rooms that are just cylinders. And you're like, wait, which cylinder room am I in?
Yeah.
Well, I would say in Phendrana it's like more egregious because they just look exactly the same.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's got a couple trees in it. It's got crawly enemies. Yeah, that's it. It's the same.
Creepies and crawlies.
Oh, I think we're going for the gravity suit next, aren't we?
Yeah, the gravity suit is next on our docket of upgrades to find. Because the next part of level design we're going to be going through is going to be heavily waterlogged. Why is there a Metroid in this cold area?
Hunter Metroid.
They're evolving.
Yeah. So this is the first like evolved Metroid version that we're seeing that is new to this game because
What a terrifying new breed of Metroid.
yeah, because like this isn't the
One
normal
ice shot, one missile.
like this isn't the normal evolution path that was established in Metroid 2, where it's just like, okay, well that's new.
Well, yeah, because in Metroid 2, the Metroids just evolve into, like, H.R. Geiger monsters.
Yeah.
And I make fun, but I guess the ultimate form of Metroids in this game doesn't exactly look like a logical progression from that design either.
Right.
God. I like how Metroids in this game are just so, like, not important that they'll just slap one in a random room that you've never, like, oh yeah, with this brand new form of Metroid that nobody's ever seen before. It's just in a random Phendrana Drifts room. No build up or anything.
Yeah.
You
I
might
guess,
not
like-
even
like-
realize it's a Metroid.
Well, I
right,
mean,
but I guess they did try to kind of, you know, as you guys mentioned, it is kind of a moment there where it's like, oh wow, it's a Metroid that's immune to cold temperatures.
Right.
But then you
Until
shoot your ice beam at
with
it.
one
and
shot
it's
of the
not.
ice beam.
Well, plus
never
it's also
mind.
kind of one of those like show don't tell moments where it's just like they're kind of trying to show that like the space pirates have been messing around with Metroids and trying to get them to evolve and change, as like briefly mentioned in their logs. But this shows it's just like how not under control of the situation that they are. Because it's just like, okay,
Space pirates not in control of a situation.
yeah.
I heard this before.
So you're saying
Oh,
it's
yes,
just setting
part
up
one.
it's setting up your main enemies in the game to just be incompetent.
I mean,
Basically.
it's not entirely incorrect.
I mean, compared to Samus.
I love that.
Yeah, Samus would put those Metroids on like a harness. Just
No, she would just
carry
kill
them around
them.
on a leash.
She wouldn't have to. Have you played Metroid 2? They just follow her around like their mama.
Guy, can you imagine her with a little like baby harness on her, and there's just a Metroid on the front of it with its teeth bared? Just like if she accidentally bumps into somebody at the grocery store, it sucks all their energy out.
I can imagine her being one of those like dog moms that just have like 8 Metroids all on leashes, and she's just walking through. She's just walking around the neighborhood with this look on her face, like
What
she's
you gonna
just
do about
done
it?
with everything.
Nobody mess with me or my children.
She runs it. She's the first and only legal Metroid breeding service. She's the only one who knows how to deal with them if they get out of hand.
The only one that the government trusts
Yeah.
until they don't.
Well, yeah, these tentacle guys, these are annoying.
Yeah.
You find these in the wrecked freighter later.
Well, they're harder to hit, I find, than the standard Reaper vines. I think these ones are just called Aqua Reapers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the tips actually move around on these ones, where the other ones just kind of stay stationary.
Well, the other ones, like, they come out of a wall and clearly, like, obstruct your path, whereas those ones, they have kind of this nebulous, like, oh, don't get too close to them thing, so you sometimes think, like, oh, I could just walk around them, and then you realize, oh, yeah, their, like, radius of being able to slap me is bigger than I thought.
I love the dramatics Samus goes to put on a new suit.
Why is she floating? Is that the magic of the Chozo?
You're asking too many questions.
If it's
Chozo
been,
pixie dust?
if it's been done before, I just want to see. I want to see Zero Suit Samus do the whole Sailor Moon thing into the various suit. Just once in my life.
I'm sure there's a fan animation of it around there somewhere.
Maybe when they make the Metroid anime.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that on Twitter.
Oh yeah. So at an earlier point, Trey was talking about the little achievements that they added in the Prime trilogy. I have those turned off for aesthetic purposes, but every time you like take down a boss or like accomplish an important task or just a little Easter egg in one of these games, you get these tokens which can be redeemed for stuff like concept art. I think you can unlock music tracks to listen to, although it's just kind of a handful, and in the age of the internet, it's not super helpful.
Or a coupon to Ridley's Fried Chicken.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite. I think most of the coupons are put to use in Metroid Prime 3, because that game has like little customizations you can do for Samus's gunship, since part of that game is, flying around from planet to planet, and you actually get to get inside the gunship for a change. But for Prime 1 and 2, it's kind of just like a more convoluted way to unlock stuff that you already had in the original releases. Anywho, now that we have the gravity suit, we're gonna explore some more underwater areas in the next episode. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you then.